Isn't it great that every time two people want to have sex with each other, they're both in a good place emotionally, have high self-esteem and self-respect, have no power imbalances between the two of them, and are both completely sober? Wait, what? Oh. So how does consent work when things are a bit more complicated? Hi everyone, my name is Sarah and welcome back to Everyday Consent. When talking about consent, it's really easy to fall into the trap of only focusing on sexual encounters that happen under ideal circumstances. But in reality, it's not uncommon for there to be some complicating factors at play. Things that might affect people's ability to think clearly, or that might influence their decisions in a particular way. Strong emotions or big life changes can sometimes have this effect. Like if someone just got dumped and is feeling really sad and upset about that, they might be feeling more impulsive than usual. Rebound sex, anyone? Or if someone hooks up with a person that they really admire or think is out of their league, they might feel more pressure to not disappoint that person no matter the cost. Or there might even be alcohol or other mind-altering substances involved to some degree. Now, sometimes we can easily categorize these situations as probably okay or clearly not okay. For example, two adults in a stable, healthy relationship having a glass of wine with dinner and then having sex, probably okay. Whereas someone's boss threatening to fire them if they don't have sex with them is a clear abuse of a power imbalance and clearly not okay. But between those extremes, there's a lot of room in the middle that's just fuzzier. In a lot of situations, it might not be so clear what the right thing to do is. We definitely don't ever want to be coercing or taking advantage of people. But humans are also complicated creatures, and there will almost always be some sort of social, emotional, or situational factors influencing our decisions or motivations in ways that maybe aren't ideal. So what should we do? I think a lot of the time when we ask this question, we're looking for some magic checklist that we can use to tell if something is okay or not. Like, item 1, everyone gave explicit consent, and item 2, everyone is 100% in their right mind, and so on. Then once we have that checklist, we could say anyone who doesn't check off every item on that checklist and has sex anyway is a monster. But if you do check everything off, then you're golden, and you don't have to worry about this consent thing anymore because you've done your due diligence. That certainly would simplify things. But I don't think there is a perfect checklist that applies to everyone and every situation, so we'll have to figure something else out. I think this is part of why it's so tempting to come up with ultimatums when talking about affirmative consent, like, if there's any hesitation or complication at all, then that's just a no. And there's certainly nothing wrong with that being your personal rule, if that's what feels most comfortable for you. But as I've discussed before on this channel, I do think that's an oversimplification. When we talk about physical risks that come with sex, such as pregnancy and STIs, there's this idea that there is no such thing as safe sex, only safer sex. And I think that the same is true of emotional risks and consent. We can't eliminate the risks entirely, but we can and should do everything in our power to reduce them. So when you are in a sexual situation, to me a good rule of thumb is to err on the side of caution. And I think this is especially true when there are complicating factors at play, such as intoxication, extreme emotions, or power imbalances. It might be a bit heavy-handed, but I really like the metaphor of sex as driving on a steep cliffside. Now, you could just have a nice Sunday drive with a view and not have any problems. But there are also inherent dangers in this, right? If you're not being careful, you could easily drive off the cliff and get seriously injured. Similarly, if you're not being careful or paying attention in a sexual situation, you could easily cross someone's boundaries and seriously hurt them. But there's also plenty that you can do to reduce the chances of that. You can drive more slowly, use your signal lights clearly, and be extra diligent in keeping an eye out for oncoming traffic or objects in the road. And going with our metaphor, during sex, you can go slowly, communicate clearly what you are doing and what you intend to do, and pay extra special attention to any danger signals from your partner, like getting really still or looking upset. The reason I think the cliffside part of the metaphor is important is because it represents what's really at stake. If we're not sure we can drive safely, pulling it over is definitely a better option than risking it. If we have to pull over, that might be inconvenient, but it's not likely to be much worse than inconvenient. Similarly, deciding not to have sex might suck, but it's not the end of the world. Whereas driving dangerously on a cliffside could be mostly okay as you inch towards the shoulder, but it could very quickly become a disaster. And when it comes to sex and other people's boundaries, playing fast and loose might be okay, but can very easily go very badly. So when you weigh the potential risks with the potential benefits, it really is worth erring on the side of caution. Now, if we add in any of the complicating factors we mentioned earlier, that would be like if it were also raining during our cliffside drive. If it starts raining, it might be fine to keep driving, but we want to be even more careful because the road conditions are more dangerous than usual. And if it's raining hard enough, like the roads are flooding or we can't see out of our windshield, then we should just stop, just pull over. Similarly, if there's alcohol or strong emotions or a social power imbalance involved, then the road conditions for sex are more dangerous. And things can go poorly even more quickly. At the very least, we need to be much more careful. And if it's bad enough, we should just stop. Now, erring on the side of caution in our metaphor does not always have to mean pulling over to the side of the road and stopping. And in sexual situations, erring on the side of caution does not have to mean you stop everything and leave the room. Sometimes it does mean walking away entirely, and the more dangerous the situation, the more likely it should mean that. But it can also just mean paying more attention, trying to better understand the situation, and being more attentive to any possible problems. So let's work on being more cautious drivers, everyone. If you have any thoughts on today's video, please leave them down in the comments, or you can always email me at everydayconsent@gmail.com. If you like this video, then please press that like button, and if you want to see more from me, don't forget to subscribe. Happy consenting, folks, and I'll see you next week. If they don't have sex with them is a situational factors. Explicit.
You're a snake today.
Explicit. I can speak parcel tongue. I just speak it with a lisp.